Now, in this episode of Budget TV, we're going to talk about private jet scams because there's plenty of them out there, and some of them are called scams, and some of them aren't called scams. But I'm just going to sort of highlight a few things for those of you that are looking to either charter a private jet, lease a private jet, or buy a private jet. I just want to tell you the real story here of private aviation and make you understand, that private aviation is expensive and it needs to stay expensive. And I explain to you the reasons why in this episode of Budget TV. Welcome to the channel. If it's your first time, my name is Fabrizio. I'm your aviation advisor and also airline transport pilot and the author of the book, The Quantum Economy. More about this book towards the end of the video, and there'll be a special offer for you, so stay to the end. So, private jet scams. Now, what's hit the news lately in the last few days has been the story of Aeroavanti, which is a company based in Florida that was offering people for $1,000 a month and $1,500 per hour, offering seats on private jets. It turned out to be a scam. The guy was taking people's money, and this is not the only situation there. A lot of people have been attracted by buying a seat on a private jet, so people in the company selling seats. We see Surf Air, for example, over in California, which has been quite successful with their model, even though it's difficult to sort of get, 6 people lined up for private jet. But there are situations out there. But, at the end of the day, private jets are small. Do you really want to be sitting on a small jet with loads of other passengers? And there's issues always with bags. People turn up with 3 bags. Some people turn up with 1. Then there's not enough space in the hold. These people don't know each other. And at the end of the day, companies and new projects, or whatever you want to call them, are coming out announcing that they're bringing a low cost model to private aviation, which is never going to happen. And I'll tell you why. Now, an airline basically, in order to make a profit, their airplanes need to fly at least 4,000 hours a year. Now, private jets do not fly 4,000 hours a year. I mean, some charter companies manage to fly their airplanes 1,200, 1,300 hours a year, but that's already a lot. But if you look at the basic operating costs of a private jet compared to an A320 or a Boeing 737, they're a lot more expensive. Why are they more expensive? Because they don't build as many. So that when you need a fuel pump for a Gulfstream G550, it's more expensive than a fuel pump for a Boeing 737, for example. So when you add all this in and also count, for example, simulator training for pilots is a lot more expensive. A type rating for a pilot on a Gulfstream or a Falcon 7X, whatever, can cost you between $60,000 to $100,000 on some airplanes. While if you're training to learn to fly an Airbus A320 or 737, it's like $10,000. So, and then you've got the training every year as well. So you've got to cost that into it. So the spare parts, training, the fact that the planes don't fly as often as the airliners do, that all builds in there. You can do the low-cost airline model for an airline, even though with an airline it's difficult, and there are very, very few airlines in the history of aviation that have actually made any money. So this is really, really important to understand. So the low-cost model to private aviation is never, ever going to work because, maths is maths, and the numbers tell you the story there. I've also talked about, people thinking of, well, I'll buy my jet, and when I'm not using it, I'll charter it out to somebody else. That, again, to me, is a scam because, you're not going to make money by chartering your jet out to somebody else. Now, a private jet is expensive. A private jet is not something that everybody can afford. I mean, there's probably, out of 8 billion people on this planet right now, there's about 3 million people that can afford private jet travel, and that's between chartering, leasing, and owning an aeroplane. Okay, so it's a very, very small number of people that can afford this, but it is a great business tool and it needs to be looked at as a business tool. And I talk extensively about this in my book, The Quantum Economy, about stories of different people that have used and are using the private jet as a business tool. So you need to cost it into that. Now, the US government have just approved, and this is really good because it's been bipartisan, so both parties have united in this to take bonus depreciation back to 100%. It did drop down to 60% at the beginning of this year. It's back to 100%. So if you do buy a private jet, you can, in the United States, you can write off 100% of the airplane. Now, this is a great, great positive news for the private jet industry because it just makes it easier for a company that's thinking of, traveling by private jet. Well, why don't we just buy an airplane? And you don't necessarily have to buy a new one. You can buy an older airplane. So, for like $10 million, you can buy, a Gulfstream G5 compared to, buying a new brand new Gulfstream for 50, 60 million. And that's just an example. I mean, of course, the older airplane will cost you a bit more in maintenance. And you have to be careful when you're buying an older aircraft. You make sure you buy something right. And at the end of the day, and I always say this, the pilots and the maintenance is more important than the plane. The plane needs to be maintained, managed, and flown in a certain way in order to keep it airworthy and to keep it flying and, in good shape. So that's really, really important. So overall, if somebody is coming to you saying, oh, I've got this new private jet company and, we're offering this special paid so much up front jet card, this, that, the other, you really can't bring the price down too much. And if the price is coming down, they're cutting corners somewhere. And that's where you have to really, really be careful when you're flying private. Don't go for the cheapest option. Make sure you go for something that's safe. And that's the most important thing. And as I say in my book, The Quantum Economy, and this is the numbers, tell you the story. Private aviation is 9.2 times more dangerous than flying with the airlines. Those are stats, okay? And the reason being is, a lot of these companies cut corners. And today, a lot of companies are struggling to find pilots, for example, because pilots are going to the airlines. But, if you pay pilots the right money and you give them the right treatment, right package, they'll come and they'll stay. There's one friend of mine, he's been with the same owner for over 15 years now. He used to be an airline pilot. He's flying a Challenger 300. The boss treats him really, really well. They don't fly that often. But, the guy keeps his jet. He flies 100, 150 hours a year. And it works. And that's what you really need to look at. The private jet is an innovator's tool. So it's like innovation. You can't measure innovation before you do it. You can only measure it after. So what I suggest you do when you buy a private jet is to think, okay, I've got the jet. It's in the hangar. It's got these fixed costs I'm paying every day. The pilot, the insurance, the hangar, certain parts of maintenance and that done. Have to be done whether the plane flies or not. So you're paying that money out every day. And you don't think of it as an expense. Think of it as an investment. But the only way to think of it as an investment is to say to yourself, okay, how can I use this jet to make me money? You can go out and fly around and do more meetings. You can send the jet out to pick people up and come and see you. That's the way this thing is going to make you money. And that's the way to look at it. Of course, you need to have the money in the beginning to be able to buy it. And then you also need the money to maintain it. So, even if you buy an airplane for $9-10 million, like a G5, it's still going to cost you $4 to $5 million a year to operate. And you have to have that money, in order to do that. So this is the way to look at it. So anybody that's coming to try and sell you a new invented scheme of private jets where it's, you're going to save a lot of money if you fly with us and, like they were doing at Aerovanti, which is $1,000 a month plus $1,500 per flight hour, the numbers don't work. Believe me, I've been in this industry over 35 years and I've seen all sorts of people come up with all sorts of ideas. Will technology bring the price down? With lighter aircraft, biofuels or different types of propulsion systems and whatever, over time probably the price of air travel will come down. We're looking at all the VTOLs coming on the market, electrical vertical takeoff and landing. They're coming on the market. So I think, and we have seen, if we look at the first Learjets or the first Boeing 747s or 707s and whatever, those airplanes were burning a lot more fuel than today. So, overall, I think the cost will come down a little bit, but the cost for aviation in general will come down a little bit. Because of technology, and that's where I see it going. But I don't see drastic changes in pricing with the current technology that we have. The only thing that can drive a price down will be technology, where you come out with a new propulsion system which is not using oil, something completely different, that's environmental friendly and whatever. Maybe that's coming. Who knows? That's something that could bring the price down. But right now, with the airplanes we have right now, the Gulfstreams, the Falcon 7Xs. The Global Bombardier 7500, whatever, all great airplanes, but, they are expensive to run compared to flying EasyJet or Ryanair or Southwest Airlines. So that's really, really important that you understand this. And anybody that tells you different story, or even those people that tell you, oh, no, don't worry, I'll manage your airplane for you and I'll charter it out, and we'll recoup the cost of this, that, the other. You will recuperate a little bit of the cost, but, the wear and tear you're going to get on your airplane because it's going to fly more. And above all, as I always tell people, the fact that your plane is out on a charter. And if suddenly you wake up this morning and you decide, maybe I should go and see John in Denver this afternoon and your plane's in New York, well, guess what? You're going to have to charter a plane, and you're going to have to find a charter to go and do that. So what's the point then in having your own airplane? The point in having your own airplane is it's sitting on the driveway like a car, and it allows you to spring into action right away to go and do your business. And that's really the power of the private jet. And that's how you're going to make money with your private jet. So this is really, really important to understand. But anyway, that's all for me here on this episode of BizJet TV. Let's get the conversation going. Check out this recent interview I did with Jason, who's a private jet owner. He tells you the story of how he used private aircraft, starting off with propeller airplanes, all the way up to his CJ4, which he has today, and how he used it to build his business. It's a really interesting story. So if you're looking to buy an airplane, why not hear from people that have a private airplane and are using it to build their business, and find out their thinking, their mindset towards private aviation. That's really the way you're going to understand if this thing's going to work for you or not. And also grab yourself a copy of The Quantum Economy, because if you do, click on the link below, get yourself a copy, write a review for me on Amazon, and send me an email with a copy of the review, and I will get on a call with you one-to-one for free and help you to come up with the right solution for you private jet-wise. So, hope you enjoyed this episode. Subscribe to the channel, comment below, give us a thumbs up and everything, and check out this video I did with Jason about his CJ4 and how he is using private aviation to build his business. And that's all from Fabrizio here on BizJet TV. I'll see you in the next one.